that could be seen in this motherfucker because you white as hell.
Hello, subscribers. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe for daily content, hopefully. Today, our subject that we are talking about is philosophy.
Philosophy.
Tonight, not today.
Well, this morning.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny how you put this video on. You're the only one that could be seen right now. Now I got to smile for this one to see me. No. You know what? I think sitting on the couch would be good because.
Yes.
Because
So with
sandwich.
With me today is Carl and
Hello.
Jay.
Say hello.
What's up?
Hello to the people.
Here, Jay.
Yeah, slide this shit.
Can I get a buzz down from that?
No.
Sir, excuse me.
You didn't give me a bus town. You smoked the whole
What do
cigarette.
you mean? I just
So-
drank like 48 ounces of beer,
You
man.
didn't share no beer with me.
What's
So, like I said earlier, today we're talking about philosophy.
Philosophy.
Philosophical.
Basically, how would you guys describe philosophy?
Well, my name is Carl. Well, philosophy is one of my favorite subjects right there. Philosophy is the study of, of everything. Question everything, you know, especially life. In college, I took ethics, philosophy, which is about, government and society. And the difference between ethic and ethnics. You know, ethics is about social contracts, you know, how people should be to treat each other and governmental and stuff like that. And ethnics, how would you define ethnics, by the way? Because
What ethnic?
Ethnic.
Ethnic is has to do with like your background and your culture.
okay,
Where
culture.
you're from, your culture.
Okay,
pretty much.
it's still a form of social contract, you know. And philosophy is a study of everything, questioning everything.
And I
You
think
know,
no, you
life
gotta do
and-
that.
Oh,
Stay
and
right here.
one of the subject was the pursuit of happiness. You know, we all in the pursuit of happiness. I feel like the only thing that separates people is their intentions, because at the end of the day, we all striving to find self-sufficiency, you know, and self-happiness and anything self, you know. And I feel like, in my study, ethics philosophy, at the end of the semester, my philosophy teacher, professor, asked us in the class, what did we learn? And I said,
Don't lose the class.
and I said I said something very audacious, which is the word she used. You're a very audacious person. She said, what did we learn in the class? And I said, I learned that every philosopher was wrong. And she said, wait a minute, why would you say that? That's a very audacious thing to say. I said, well, I made the analogy that life is like a cooked rice. The reason I said cooked rice, because a cooked rice is an end result of a process. Because I said, well, you know what? Because everything that make that cooked rice, for example, the stove, every metal that came from somewhere, and the fire, every factor should be considered equally. Because if you focus on only one area, because life is everything. Life is everything. Life is spirituality, life is mechanics, you know, it's science and all these kind of things. And I said, if you focus on one thing, then you're wrong. Because life is about everything else. Because most philosophers focus on one side of life. Some people focus on government, some people focus on pursuit of happiness, some focus on success. Well, success is subjective. It's not an objective thing. Because success is, anybody could be happy doing anything. The janitor could be a very fulfilled janitor, you know. And then that's my outlook on philosophy. You just feel like it's a social contract.
I feel as though it's important for us to talk about philosophy. No. It's important for us to talk about philosophy because philosophy is questioning life, society, things,
Let me get that.
and the thing about it is it's important to do that because in the society that we live in right now, a lot of people just don't question things. They don't
Right.
ask enough questions.
Walking Dead.
So it's important for us to ask questions. One of my favorite was Pythagoras, who made Pythagoras' theorem. Was about a lot about sound, and frequencies, and colors, and how geometry plays into all of that. And the thing about it is, it's like geometry is very interesting when it comes to analyzing our reality.
Yep. Just a
You know what I'm
moment.
saying? when it comes to analyzing our reality, geometry plays a part in it, and then you get into sacred geometry, which is the geometrical shapes of everything,
Right.
from a molecular structure to a microcosm to the macrocosm.
There we go.
You know,
Well, in a way of putting it,
You get the bus
it's a
down.
simple way.
you can
What-
give me a bust down.
What you were saying, so question everything. What you were both basically saying.
Right.
Question everything to the smallest amount.
Yes. So yeah. So
Save
well.
at least one.
Okay.
Well, number one, the first thing when you're born, the first thing you question is why life is the way it is.
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Right.
And
right.
usually your
The
parents,
meaning of life.
yeah, your parents say, you know,
Well,
It's
here's
where-
Well, people have people. Well, the meaning of life could be subjective, because the meaning of life is a matter of.
well, the
you know,
meaning
how-
the meaning of life could mean anything to anyone. Like
Yeah, that's why I say
each
subjective.
person could have their own idea
Right.
of what the meaning of life is.
Right.
You know,
Right.
knowing what I know,
Well, from what I heard from one of my teachers, mind you, like you were saying, both of you, question everything.
Right.
Now, I've read this in multiple books. Everything started in fire.
Well, gentlemen,
Then
now,
water.
Now, when you're mentioning things like this, now we're talking about spirituality. For some reason, you know, that's the theme or thesis for us. The trio right here. We always end. He spoke of sacred geometry, which has mostly about spirituality, you know, and then philosophy. I guess it's a sort of philosophy, since philosophy, you know, is synonymous to questioning everything and stuff like that. But you know, as far as philosophy itself, it's more about it's more about life, you know, and not the psychology studies the behavior of people, when philosophy is a study of why,
yeah,
right? It's a study of why people act this way, not how. You
Now,
know.
from what I'm understanding, it's just like every other human. So, if we act in a certain way, or as in the Bible, what it says is, we are the sheep of God.
Okay.
So, if we're basically the sheep of God, if you were to go one direction or start doing a random thing, and then the next person sees you doing a random thing, and once you leave, they continue doing that thing.
Okay. Well.
And then another person walks in, sees that, thinks, okay, it's strange.
Right.
Then they start following. It's basically the sheep effect, or also known as the butterfly effect, from what I understand.
Well. Okay.
Well, I also know that, you know, Christ called himself the good shepherd. Well, he's the good shepherd, then there must be a bad shepherd.
Right.
And then there must be a neutral shepherd. So people are sheep because they tend to follow things that are ritual or what their parents had bestowed on them
Pattern.
to do.
Pattern and yes, pattern.
That's
right.
patterns. We become slaves
Habitual.
to have habits.
Right. Habitual.
Habitual ritual habits.
Yes, sir.
And in America, you know, we have a lot of bad habits in America, and we do have good habits as well. But America, most people in this country need to start questioning things that are going on,
Right,
and
right.
questioning life, the nature of life, and our reality, and even space. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
what do you guys think about the possibility of extraterrestrials?
No, before you can. When he asked that, comment down below what you believe is true. Like, what do you believe is the meaning of life? The meaning of philosophy? Your opinion.
Right.
Now, back to what you were saying.
Yes.
Extraterrestrial.
Extraterrestrials.
Now, can you and now?
You guys aren't really in the shot.
Right. Focus.
We gotta squeeze together, boys.
No,
No,
we
we
don't gotta
like
see- we don't gotta see our
we like to
face.
keep it a mystery a little bit.
Yeah.
You know the mystery behind the face.
all you need to know. Jay, Carl,
Yes, sir.
That's right.
Well,
and then the white guy right in the
Now,
middle.
when you say extraterrestrial,
We got that Oreo
we
effect
spoke,
going on.
We spoke yesterday many times about this. Now, you could mention the moon being like a spaceship and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I did talk about that. It's some philosophies Like David Icke wrote a book about the moon matrix, and before him there were other philosophers talking about the moon
Right.
in a questionable way, and also with something called reactive thinking.
You were
Okay?
also talking about buildings.
And buildings. Like I was telling
Well,
people,
there's a secret geometry.
yeah, that's
Yes.
build. A lot of these buildings people don't know are built with sacred geometry, and it's questionable why a building is called a building even
Right.
after it's finished.
Right, because a building is like, if you're conjugating it, it's like sounds like future tense and continuing.
And what
That's
you were
right.
saying about building after it's built.
Right.
So
Why
you
is
were
it called
saying-
building after it's
it was still-
it's already finished?
Right, it's still building energy.
It's still
whether
building
it's
energy.
positive, negative, or neutral.
That's
right.
right.
The word building stands for building energy, positive or negative.
That's
Right.
right. And a lot of these buildings are building energy. And whether we want to choose it, of course, you could do reference to a book by Tex Mars,
Tex
called
Mars.
The Architects of the Illuminati, which basically saying that some of these people had built these buildings using sacred geometry. They knew where to put these buildings in certain areas.
Right.
People don't know that the White House is built at 10 longitude, 10 latitude, 10. And it's a reason why they did that. They built all these places in certain spots, even the Empire State Building.
Now, let me ask this. Okay, so you brought up the Illuminati.
Mhm.
So, technically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
the Illuminati placed everything where it needs to be placed at a certain place.
Mhm.
Okay, take these trees behind us. They're planted in a certain spot because the Illuminati, which in my opinion is run by the government, was placed there on purpose. Not for looks,
Right.
but because that's where they needed to be.
Right. Symmetrical.
Now, what are your guys' opinion on the Illuminati?
Well, to be honest with you, that's a dangerous subject because the Illuminati is an ancient organization, focused on spirituality, sacred geometry, as Jay mentioned. They're an organization that holds certain knowledge about witchcraft and spirituality and stuff like that. They hold sacred knowledge, ancient knowledge, about ancient civilization, especially from Kemet, which is what people usually call Pangaea, which is the true name of Egypt, the first civilization known to men. So Jay is more of an expert in that area,
Okay.
as far as the secret geometry and the ancient knowledge of civilization and stuff like that.
Okay, so bringing up Egypt, the pyramids of Giza. Most people already found this out and done their research. They were based off of Orion's belt. Three
No,
stars.
what's Orion's belt?
Orion's belt. It's a constellation of stars.
Constellation of stars.
So, how it goes is basically a small U, a very small U.
Okay.
So, according to some legends, it points due south to Jordan, modern day Jordan, or as people called it, the dagger's tip.
Dagger's tip.
Now, pyramids and I don't know what it's called.
Pyramids, which usually build in threes, if you
Yes.
haven't noticed. There's never a pyramid by itself. It's always in threes.
Because the pyramid, okay, so take one of the pyramids of Giza. It has 4 sides. Okay, so technically speaking, with philosophy, the 4 elements that are
Water, earth, fire, and air.
Right. So, either way. So, each of them, of course, think about it as the compass. Easiest way to put it.
North, south, west,
And east.
and east.
So, either way.
All these things, or as he said, we always go back to the common denominator, sacred geometry. The reason it's called sacred, because geometry, as you know, has to do with shapes, and even numbers. Sacred for the simple fact that everything is related. For example, the periodic table. The periodic table, the ancient Egyptians, they used to be able to manipulate because somebody told me earlier that he says that the periodic table only holds like 100 something elements, and then he said that there's actually 360 in total, and he didn't really explain that, but that's something I must do my research on. Do you guys know anything about that?
I could talk about the ingenuity of the pyramids of Giza. They are pointing at those 3 stars on Orion's belt. They're pointing right at them, but they're also, what people don't realize is they're also along the equator of the Earth.
Equator
is where they are, and they also were covered in limestone. Now, the limestone, what it does is it traps heat, and what it does is it glows.
Right.
So when the pyramids of Giza were in their full shape and they had their capstones, they shined in the middle of the desert because they had limestone, and at the top they were gold capstones. People don't realize this. The capstones of the pyramids were 30 feet, 30 square feet. That's a big ass piece of gold at the top of the freaking pyramid.
Yes, it is. Because gold is a conductor, as we know.
That's right. It's a conductor.
For lightning.
It's a conductor of electricity.
Yes,
now,
sir.
what else?
And lighting.
And your brain is a conductor of electricity.
Hell
the
yeah.
neurons in your brain are controlled with electricity. And the pyramids of Giza, the capstones represents your brain. The capstone represents your brain because
Right.
your brain has electrical currents in it from the neurons.
Right.
Now, bringing that up, is it true that per second there's at least 10,000
Thoughts?
neutrons running through your brain
Yes.
Yes, sir.
at any given time?
That's
whether
right.
waking moments or sleeping moments.
Well, with that being said, you have your thoughts happen before you actually capture them. Your thoughts, because the electricity that goes into your brain is extremely fast, bro. It's fast.
Now, bringing that up about the brain, this is why sometimes I stress the importance of meditation.
Meditation.
Because when you're awake, your brain is not resting. You're thinking. And
Right.
what you don't realize, some people, is that when you're asleep, your brain's not resting because you're dreaming.
Yes, sir.
So meditation actually helps to relax your brain and gives it time to
rest.
maybe reboot or rest
Right.
if you're doing it properly. Now,
Right.
there's also meditation where you use imagery in your mind. That is important too because we have television, which in my book I wrote about, I had a chapter about the Cyclops versus the third eye. The Cyclops is the one-eyed monster, which is the television. Your third eye is your pineal gland in your brain.
Which is usually located up here.
Right. Which is also in 3, which is also the shape of a triangle. The pioneer, the
Thalamus gland.
Thalamus
and
gland.
The
something.
wait a minute, hold on. There's the pineal
Pineal.
gland, the thalamus gland, and the what's the
Pituitary.
the pituitary gland
gland.
Right.
in the brain.
The 3 wise men.
That's right, the 3 wise men, which
Yes,
is
sir.
also coincides with the 3 pyramids of Giza. See, 3 is a very powerful number.
3 means energy.
That's
so
right.
when they say the
And
power
energy
of
is
3,
energy is information.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
the power of 3, you never know what that. Most people don't know the meaning of it. So the fact that we're breaking it down
Right.
as slowly as we can and putting it in simple terms.
Right. 3 is not a number. 3 is a sign.
Yes.
Every number is a symbol. Every letter
Symbol,
is a
that's what I
symbol.
meant.
That's right.
Right, symbol.
3 is a symbol. It
Right.
also represents energy like Poseidon's trident.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Why the strongest things are made in 3s?
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's
Because
right.
I think 3, not only stands for energy, it's harness. You know, it's harness. Anytime you want to harness any form of energy, obviously, because 3 means energy, and you know, anytime you want to harness something, you have to do it in 3. 3 is the strongest. It's a perfect number.
Nikola Tesla, who was one of the most revered scientists of his time, who was an expert in electricity, and you can't really call him a philosopher because his things were based in facts.
Yes, sir.
Scientists look for facts to base things in knowledge and truth.
Yes, sir.
And he basically said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, learn about the number 3, the number 6, and the number 9. Now, 3, you need 3 first before you get 6 and before you get 9. Now, the reason why he was talking about that is there's something called vortex math.
Which explain. please?
Vortex math, it also it breaks things down to a molecular structure or to the carbon atom, and
Yes,
then from the
sir.
microcosm to the macrocosm. So you get the number 9, you got the number 6. If you look at the way that the numbers are shaped, 6, it looks like a spiral. 9 looks like a spiral in the other direction.
Yes, sir.
The spiral is a symbol for spirituality. If you look at the galaxy, the pictures that they take of the galaxy is a spiral. The solar system, with the sun in the middle, is like a spiral because the planets circle around the sun, which is like the engine for the solar system. All of our energy, our natural energy, pretty much comes from the sun, and then from the earth, the planet that we're on. Solar or photon energy, okay? This is what we absorb every day, just like plants. We absorb solar photon energy, and all energy is information. This is what scientists have come to the conclusion of. So, since we're all energy beings, energy doesn't die, it just transforms.
It transforms, it converts.
So, in a way of putting it, what comes from the sky comes to Earth. What's on Earth goes to dust
That's right.
and then recycles itself.
As above, so below.
Yeah, that's
Which
not
is
that.
why in my opinion, this is my opinion, but I think this is true. There's 3 realms. For Christianity people, they would call it heaven,
Earth
earth, and hell.
Well,
Well, me being somebody who's also studied Buddhism, and let me tell you something, there's a lot of fake Buddhists out there. Anybody who says they're a Buddhist and they don't know about the 32 realms of existence, then they're probably not really a Buddhist. Buddha spoke of the 32 realms of existence, which was basically different levels of hell, earth, and different levels of heaven. It comes all the way to 32. He's broke down that there's different parts of hell. He said there's even just parts of hell for animals. There's just parts of hell for heaven for animals. There's just parts of different dimensions of this planet, which is scientists has already proved that there's alternate dimensions.
that they speak of that the past still exists as we speak.
Right.
Like the things that you did 10 years ago is still happening.
In an alternate universe.
That's right.
Now, bringing up alternate universes.
Now, I think that's defined by time.
Right. So, here's another question for you. Who believes in alternate universes? I know I do.
I do too.
There was this video on YouTube I was watching the other day about this dude. I forgot the technical terms you use for that. That he used some form of sound technology and stuff like that to open a. This is already on YouTube, obviously, to because I watched it on YouTube too. He was able to open a portal to another dimension, which through that portal he saw another city, like a futuristic city.
Okay.
There was another instant in that same thing. This was even more natural. This was in the east coast of China, somewhere near Shanghai. There was this bridge where people would look out into the water, and usually there's nothing out there. But at this one day, it was mist, and there was a freaking city there. And these people were looking out, and they said, "What is that?" They were actually able to see into another dimension.
Right.
Like we were talking about the other night, when the planets are certain alignment and certain stars are in alignment, certain portals do open up on the earth, and you can see into another freaking dimension.
Crazy stuff, man.
So when your deja vu, in a way of putting
the
it,
deja vu is kind of like
Don't get me started on deja vu.
deja vu is kind of like it's already a pre-existing memory that from your past life. It's like you see somebody, but you feel like you know that person, but you never seen that person in your life. That's now we're going to reincarnation. We're going to reincarnation because, as you said, energy doesn't die; it transforms.
That's right.
And your soul, which is the essence of your existence, which is energy.
That's right.
You know, your soul is energy, and once you die, your soul energy it converts itself through time, which means you are reborn. What the Asians believe you were born after your death, you were born 50 years later. So us right now, as we're speaking, this was meant to happen. Maybe sometime in the past we were, I don't know, brothers or friends, or we serve in the same army. Like, it doesn't matter. But these connections are never lost through time. Your brother that is so freaky because your mother was probably once your wife, because that connection is never lost. Your mother, that connection you have with your mother is a strong connection. You know, she could have been your best friend in the past. She could have been your sister in the past. She could even be your wife in the past. And you never reincarnate. People
Or
don't
an
mention that a
ex.
lot. Right. Your reincarnation, you're not always reincarnated at the same sex. And just make it clear, humans will not reincarnate as animals. No, you don't.
No.
You don't reincarnate as animals. You reincarnate as different purposes in life, different careers, different, but remember, we're born always as a human being, maybe sometimes different sex.
Now, talking about that, one of the things I brought up yesterday, remember what it was?
What?
We retain the memories of our previous ancestors.
Previous selves.
And previous selves. But ancestors, like take me for example. My great-grandfather, he was a blacksmither. I never done blacksmithing until my senior year in high school. Yet I contained his memories of how to blacksmith.
Yes, sir.
Now, explain that. That's 3 generations, basically.
Remember, energy is information, and your whole body is runs by energy, electricity, in your brain through your whole body, anyways. And then how many volts the human brain produce? Now, did anybody have that number? 'Cause
I believe they said it was more like 2, 3, 9-volt batteries.
you see, energy, man. Energy is
We
information, man.
have enough energy to charge our
Your soul has enough energy to power one city.
yeah.
Your soul, one human soul.
Exactly.
One human soul is capable of powering one city with electricity, bro.
Or growing several crops a field or farms.
You know that. There you go.
Well, here's the thing that we have to understand, that I also believe in reincarnation, just like y'all.
All right.
And it's a cycle. It's a cycle of learning.
Right. Yes.
I believe that we're here.
Yes.
We're here to learn, because
Continuously learn. Yes.
and if you think about it, the only thing that transcends the physical world is knowledge, is the things that you have learned.
Right.
And you're in this dimension. The only way to make it to a higher dimension is to learn enough at this dimension so that
Acquire,
you can
yes.
excel to the higher
To the-
dimension.
Yes, sir.
You
Yeah.
can't. We have so many people on this earth that just think that this is all about material things.
Right.
Here,
It's a distraction.
All jokes set aside. Now, let's talk about different skin colors.
Right.
The DNA.
Okay. Now, with that being
DNA.
said,
Now, for me, example, I'm white. The gentleman, Jay and Carl, are both, well, in a way of putting it,
melanated people, copper
Melanated
colored
people.
copper colored people.
That's right.
Because
Melanated.
the word black, we're not black. They used to call us copper colored people. And copper, well, just food for thought. Copper is a conductor as well. We're almost equipped. If you're not using gold, the next best thing to use is
It's
copper.
copper.
which
Right.
runs quite frequently through almost every building.
Right. Now, what is a tree made out of? A tree is made out of carbon. And carbon forms 90% of melanin. And the molecular formula for a tree is 777. 7 neutrons, 7 protons, and 7 electrons. And the molecular formula for melanin, which is also carbon, 90% carbon, remember, is 666. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons, which is the molecular formula for melanin. And then, for example, Superman. Superman is he gets his power from the sun, right?
Solar radiation.
Right.
Now, bringing that up,
Right.
wouldn't it be true that, for example, if Superman did exist, that if he runs off of solar radiation, wouldn't he be your guys' skin color?
Hell yeah.
Damn right he
Because
would.
how
And
can a
not
white
mine.
guy stand so goddamn close to the sun without burning? That makes no sense, man. Superman is black. And I personally believe, well, this is just pure speculation. I believe that what's the word here? Krypton, the Krypton people, they're actually black people. So that because those people pull the power from the sun. And who do you know on this planet that still exists that pulls their power from the sun? Black people.
Yes.
Which is not just because they're black. There's always a scientific explanation for things. Because melanin is run by energy from the sun.
Now, going back to what you were saying, wasn't it trees you said?
Made out of carbon.
Yeah, so 777.
777.
So, for some of you viewers who are Christian, you would say, oh, that's,
666 is bad.
yeah, 666 is the devil's number.
Now he said 666 was what ancient time in Jesus' time they added your name, so your name equals to that number 666.
That's right. So Christians in Christianity, the ones that understand, is that back in the day they would make you a name number. They would add up all the letters in your name, and then they would give you a number for your name. So in the Bible, it was saying that the Antichrist's name number is 666. So it's really not the mark of the beast.
It's not.
No, so what you're saying is that was basically their social security number.
Yeah, back in the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
but
yes.
the mark of the beast is not 666. It's something else. Just like the crown of God. So they said people were gonna take the mark of the beast, and the other people were gonna have the crown of God.
And do you also notice whenever they put supposedly the mark of the beast 666, it's always put in a triangular form.
That's right.
6 at the top, 6 in the left corner, and 6 in the right corner.
That's right.
Now why is that?
Well,
Number one, that's 3 numbers.
that's 3 numbers. That's right. And the thing about it,
Well, then explain
That's
the
3
three
numbers.
sevens.
That's right.
The 3 sevens.
Right. But then again, anything, when you think about it, anything in its pure form has three numbers.
Exactly. Even us.
Now that doesn't mean white people, I don't know if that word offends anybody. I feel
If it
stupid to say
does-
Caucasian.
If it does, please comment below so that way we don't have.
There's no
will
misunderstanding. I apologize for any misunderstanding. I don't.
That way we'll
I don't
try
ever
not-
hope. I
We'll
don't
try
ever.
to avoid using that word again.
Right. I don't ever hope to make statements that's open to misinterpretation. But well, anyways, Caucasian. To be politically correct. Caucasian people. It's not that they don't have melanin in them. They just have a very low number. That's all it is. That you didn't choose. That's not something you choose. You were born this way.
It's in the DNA.
Right.
Now, if you originally go back to the original DNA, for example, sorry about this, but in the Holy Bible, Adam and Eve. Now,
Adam and evolution.
Right.
Somebody told me that.
so Adam apparently was the first man to walk the earth in the Garden of Eden. Now, Eve was the first woman created
Supposedly
By
Lilith
Adam.
was.
by Adam's rib.
I will go ahead. I will elaborate after you. Go ahead.
So, in a way of putting it, if you guys want to comment your opinions down below, they are technically brother and sister, but also twins. Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I'll elaborate. Now, I used to have everybody else's view on the Adam and Eve and the Genesis thing, but it expanded more for me when I listened to a guy who is Dr. Alum Muhammad Bey, and he broke it down in a different way. First of all, look at the name Genosis. It has to do with genealogy and genetics.
Genetics.
In the Bible, Genesis is pretty much trying to explain to you guys why our genetics is the way it is. Now, what you got to realize is what Dr. Alum Bey has said, this is just his philosophy, he was saying that it wasn't just Adam and Eve, it was the tribe of Adam and the tribe of Eve. Now that would explain, because a lot of people, they say, well, if it was Adam and Eve and they were having kids, how did their kids have kids?
Right.
This guy broke it down. He was basically saying that they were hermaphrodites. They were male hermaphrodites and female hermaphrodites.
Now, according
meaning
to the,
that one was dominant male and one was dominant feminine, but they both had the male and the female sex organ, which would explain why we still have some people that are hermaphrodites today with a penis and a vagina. I've seen it.
The ankh, which symbolizes the vagina and the penis.
That's right. So as he was saying that the reptilians, okay, excuse me if you don't believe in aliens or whatever, but in this also coincides with a guy named Credo Matra, who is a shaman for the Zulu tribe. He said the reptilians came down, they made us slaves to harness gold out of the earth, and what they did was they separated people. They made two caves, and they said, if you want to be a male, go into this cave, and you want to be a female, go into this cave. And they surgically made male and female separate. Why? Because when man was in the hermaphrodite form, spiritually you were more powerful, because you had the male and the female masculine energy already.
Right.
So now you're on earth to find that soulmate, that female energy that matches yours, in order for you to activate your full psychic energy. This is what these people believe. Okay? So the crazy thing about Dr. Alim Muhammad Bey, he said for at least 150,000 years it was hermaphrodites.
Now, let me ask this. In some of the Bibles, especially for the children, with the picture Bibles, they picture Adam and Eve as
Caucasian.
White.
Caucasian, right.
So, explain.
Okay.
Explain.
Well, the reason why that doesn't make sense to me is because, remember, only the original can spread. Only the original can spread. Everything that comes from the original is a variation, right? Once the original spread, it cannot come back to original. Only the original can spread, period. Only original can give birth to variations. For example, black people can give birth, pure breed black people, by the way, can give birth to a white person.
An albino.
An albino, right? Pale skin, green eyes, or whatever colored eyes, which is a recess, any eyes that is not colored brown or black is a recessive gene, which is bad, which is a weak eyes to have, right? Now, when you put two white people together, unless they're having the ancestry, a black person there, a great grandfather that's, I don't know, a grandmother or aunt that was black, they cannot give birth to a black person, but a black person can give birth to them.
Yeah, two white people can't give birth to a melanated being, but two black people can give birth to an albino being.
Right.
That is just simple genetics,
right,
which they kind of have lied to us for a long time. There are some bones that they found in southern Ethiopia of a skeleton that they called Lucy, which is the oldest bones, the oldest.
The movie Lucy was made from that.
The oldest skeletal bones to be found, and that was in Africa.
Right.
Now, not even just that, just simple genetics tells you that the melanated man was the oldest, since the other genetic traits are recessive.
Right.
So Adam and Eve most likely
black.
Definitively were melanated beings.
Melanated, yeah, because
and we want to say melanated because black and white was a construct to separate
100%,
us, to separate us, number one,
100%, and
to take away your constitutional rights,
100%,
because you cannot really define yourself as a color and still have your human rights.
Right. No. There's actually 100% fact, and everybody makes that argument, which is 100% facts. It's a social contract. Black and white.
Okay,
it's a social contract. Yeah.
Let's go off of this. So, since we're talking about genes, okay, explain that for Scottish people. They have, most of them are known for having ginger hair and beards. Now, I have Scottish in me. Now, I don't have the red hair, but I have a little in my beard.
Right.
So, if we were, per se, the original genes were melatonin
Melanated.
melanated people.
Right.
Explain why in different parts of the world, some people have red hair, blonde hair,
Remember,
Okay, I can explain
those
this,
things
but
are
go ahead.
mutations.
Blue eyes,
Those things
green
are
eyes.
mutations.
That's right. Those things are mutations.
They're mutations.
But just like Jin knows
And
cis,
mutation is
just
dependent
like,
on your environment.
That's right. But here's the thing. Just like Jin knows cis, the book,
Right.
the snake. All right. We all know snakes can't talk. So this was a snake being, a snake-like being.
Oh, no. Oh,
right.
we're gonna
So-
go there.
Let's just say
Oh.
the
We're gonna go there.
it is believed by some that these beings, or maybe they in the Bible they were called fallen angels, had made it with the women and created these different traits
Right.
and mixed the genetics up. So there the mutations as green eyes, blue eyes, red hair, blonde hair, and then Chinese. Why did Chinese have eyes like this?
Right.
Let me explain something.
Chinky
Do you
eyes.
notice? Do you notice? And you could go outside and just look around. You notice a lot of Asian people wear glasses. Well,
They have a vision deficiency.
yeah. And where else does that show up? Do you know that dogs? There's certain dogs like a
Bulldog,
bulldog, for instance.
which is the end has been spliced too many
is-
times.
The bulldog has been spliced a lot of times.
Right.
And one of the traits that, as a reaction of this, the bulldog
Loses
tends
vision.
to lose his vision.
Right.
So I have come to the conclusion that Asian people have probably been spliced a lot of times. Now, if you look into the history, there was somebody called the Yellow Emperor. Now, some people would say, if you study the whole story, that this person was a freaking alien. But what he did was he civilized the whole Asian race and gave them a whole lot of information. And then at the end of the story, he flies into the sky into a golden dragon. Of course, back in the day, they probably couldn't describe it as what it was, so they just said it was a dragon.
Right.
Okay? So it is under my belief that these beings have been visiting the earth for a very long time. And all of them can't be bad. Some of them were most
So let
likely
me ask,
good.
so let me ask you a question, right? Now, when we keep mentioning extraterrestrial beings,
Mm-hmm.
now, on what kind of spirituality do they fall under?
Well, it depends.
No, I want to ask that. What kind of spirituality do they fall under?
Well, let me tell you something. This is a very good question.
What about okay?
Because
so-
because we mention God all the time, right?
What about-
There's no recollection on any holy scripture ever about aliens.
Well, okay.
But we know
okay.
they exist because what did you call it? Extraterrestrial entity, ETE, right? Right. How they found a female on the moon, right, with the red dot on his forehead, which means on her forehead, on her forehead, which that dot on her forehead is not a dot. It's because remember the third eye is not an actual eye, right? It's not an actual eye like your two eyeballs. It's a metaphorically eye, which symbolizes
Spirit.
some extra gland on your forehead, which gives you psychic abilities.
Yes, that's right.
And that woman that you told me was found on the moon, ETE, extraterrestrial entity, the dot on her forehead, which was a gland that helps her control spaceships.
That's right. So,
So you're
These-
basically saying that that's the mother.
Well,
we don't know. We don't know. Here's the thing.
Because let's believe that black people are not from the earth.
The history of humanity and this world could be a lot older than we think.
100%.
You know? So who knows? There could be civilizations that were here that were a lot older than us. Matter of fact, we could get under here. It's about to rain, so we could get under the
So sorry about the shake of the camera. But yeah, we grab that. But yes, melatonin. Melatonin. Not the medication. But
These are hormone your brains develop at night, produces at night.
right.
your pineal gland. But yeah, so here's the thing. If there was evidence of extraterrestrials in the holy books, I'm pretty sure that they took that out. There are plenty of books that are taken out of the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jasper, the Gospel of Mary. A lot of these books were taken out of the Bible because they had certain views that other people didn't want expressed. Don't forget that religion has always been used to control people from the beginning of time, from the first time people created a religion. I'll tell you a crazy story. I went to Amsterdam. I've been to Amsterdam before. And
Weed smoking people.
yes, I'm a weed smoker. And there is a place in Amsterdam, it's a museum called the Sex Museum. Now, we have a sex museum in New York, but it's not as old as the one in Amsterdam, because Amsterdam is the old New York. Remember, New York was called New Amsterdam when it was started. Okay? Yeah.
History.
Yeah, New York was called New Amsterdam. There's actually a Harlem in Amsterdam. So Harlem is not new. That's a name that they took from Amsterdam.
Here, take this in consideration. So, since we were talking about other dimensions, hell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, yes, I know there's a place in Turkey called hell. And from what I heard, the old saying, when hell freezes over.
Yeah.
So the place in Turkey is, of course, like I said, called hell.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, it freezes over almost every year. Now, you brought up yesterday about them finding another dimension of hell.
Let me move a little closer.
So, of course, where did you say that the gates of hell, or one of you said that the gates of hell?
I did. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
well,
Jay did.
during the times of Christ, they
Well, before we mention that, I also like to let people know that there's no J in the Hebrew language. So there's no Jesus. Neither is this Jew.
Oh
Well,
yeah. That's one. That's one that'll piss a lot of people off.
Right.
But
There's no
yeah.
such thing as J in Hebrew, man. No such thing. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, let's not forget that.
And that's
because
not a translation error either.
the letter J came around like the 13th century, so
Right.
they just made that one up. So
Right.
yeah. So in Christ's time, the gates of hell were thought to be at this place called Mount Hermon.
Man,
which is where
stop
a lot
talking
of
about this stuff, man. Stop talking about this stuff,
yeah.
man.
Well,
Danger, red zone.
Red zone. Yeah,
Red zone.
I could go real deep into that, but
Well,
I'm not gonna go deep into it. But what I will say is that
let's stay on philosophy, man.
yeah.
Well,
Let's stay on philosophy.
technically, we're philosophy.
Well, we're questioning things. We're questioning things.
Yes, this is.
But you know what, man? Listen, man. Listen. You know how people say, "Oh, don't judge," but you can't help but to judge. If you don't judge and you keep any crap around you, you're supposed to you want to judge.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't judge, you'd have any piece of crap character around you.
That's
Right.
You know, so even that's a hypocritical thing to say not to judge. So therefore, that's why I cut him off when he started to talk about certain subjects. Because I feel like certain subjects should be kept within us right here, Chris, myself, Carl, and Jay. I don't believe, because remember, I don't believe in having making statements that's open to misinterpretation.
That's right.
You know, I don't believe in that. So therefore, if there's going to be a statement that's going to bring some form of a controversial, controversy, how do you pronounce that word?
That's right.
Controversy, then we should just snatch it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want, and we don't want to explain too much. Or what does that mean? Oh, I disagree. Or, no. Anyways, let's stay on philosophy, guys.
Yeah.
Let's on philosophy. My friend Gerard here, a very knowledgeable person.
Well, we could also say that hell could be a state of mind too.
There we
just
go.
like heaven could be a state of mind.
Well,
Right.
yes.
that's
true.
also what Buddha believed. He believed in nirvana. He believed that you could reach
Oh,
a state of mind
Right.
of heaven if you meditate enough. You could reach nirvana, which is like a state of mind of heaven.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But what they don't teach you is that Buddha did believe in heaven. He
100%.
believed in the 32 realms of existence and different levels of heaven
Right.
with different entities that, like you don't die. You either go back down or you go back up.
Right.
And you learn enough so that you could keep going up. And once you reach the top, you're a god and you create your own freaking universe.
Well, guys, no. Well, guys, keep in mind that we are not saying that everything we're saying is 100% true.
That's right.
If there's anything that you know that's different, or we always willing to stand corrected.
That's
Well,
right.
Because because that's what learning is.
That's right.
Trial and error. That's
right.
what learning is. So if there's a lot of things that we didn't stress on, and you want to elaborate, and if there's anything that you want to teach us, we're willing to know. Because like you said, we were put on this planet to learn. That's why we reborn every time we reincarnate, so we could continue to learn.
That's right.
Because there's a lifetime of knowledge to be acquired. So therefore, if there's anything you might want to tell us, you might want to teach us, by all means, please write away in the comments.
In the
Okay,
comment section.
here's one thing. So earlier we brought up there could be aliens among us. Now, in some cameras, the eyes flash yellow, right? So how do we know if that's their natural eye color?
How do
because
we
of
know
the
that we're
flash?
not being monitored?
Or if it's an alien that we can actually saw in the camera who was hiding among, in the most simplest way of putting it,
Well-
meat suit.
Well, speculation always sounds beautiful. You
Yeah,
know,
it's all speculation. However,
right.
if we speculate and think that there's a possibility
Right.
that they exist, you also have to take into accountability in the Bible. It said the fallen angels came to have sex with the daughters of men. So who's to say they're not still doing that? I'm just
So,
saying,
a Nephilim,
hypothetically.
a Nephilim, a
Right.
Nephilim.
They always put it in hypothetically. man.
Hypothetically.
So what you're saying is there could possibly be Nephilims,
Yeah,
which
possibly.
are, in the most
Yeah.
simplest way of putting it, half man, half angel.
Half angel.
So, a Nephilim,
Half pure. Yeah.
they have the power,
Nephilim, yeah.
mind you, supernatural terms.
The son of the devil and a human being.
No, not always
And
just the son of
Supernatural
the
episode,
devil.
the last season.
Let's not spoil it for the people who haven't watched it. But
Which Nephilim, which is more powerful.
they're doing a fire drill. all
Which
the
is
way
more
over
powerful than a human and an angel. Now, when I say powerful human, people assume humans are not powerful. We hold a lot of power, man. We hold a lot of power. You know what? Let's not go beyond that speculation right there.
This also coincides with Greek mythology a little bit.
Right.
The Titans versus the gods. Well, the Nephilims were the children of fallen angels, and when the woman would give birth to them, they would be giants.
Right.
Why? Because angels in the other dimension, angels are about as tall as a freaking building. They're huge.
Right.
A 10-story building.
Yes, they're
on
very
average.
huge beings.
Yeah,
So when
right.
the woman would give birth, some of them didn't live through it, and they would give birth to a giant. And these giants weren't stupid either. They had the souls of fallen angels in them, so they all inherently knew magic, and they were very psychic. The battle of the Titans and the gods, through my understanding of Egyptology and Greece, was basically intelligent man versus the giants. This is why they built the pyramids of Giza, because the pyramids of Giza is not only an electromagnetic energy power plant, it was also a weapon, and you could reference to a book called The Giza Death Star.
Okay, no, let's ask this. Let's ask this. I heard rumors before, a couple years ago, that the pyramids of Giza actually hold a weapon. They were, and an alien weapon. So, if you believe that, comment down below and give your reason why. So, is it true that pyramids of Giza, all three of them, could it be hiding an alien weapon?
Weapon, right.
Right. Either a spaceship inside.
Well, you know what funny thing is? You guys remember the movie? Well, you probably didn't watch that movie, Stargate. Remember that movie?
I remember Stargate.
Remember how they say technically, those the aliens that built the pyramids were spaceships that came and was left by the aliens on Earth.
Well,
But see,
I could reference to a certain person who also elaborated on this. His name was Dr. Dilbert Blair. And what he said was, technically, man built the pyramids, but under the pyramids of Giza, there are 3 spaceships, which came from planets that were along Orion's belt, some planets that were there. And they originally came down here to give melanin to the immortals. But this is a really, really deep story, and I call it the story of the original architects. And notice this, that melanin really only exists in the skin of melanated people and in space. So in order for them to make melanin pills, I will let you figure out how they do that, because there's no other way to make it other than getting it from somebody who has melanated skin. So melanin in space, which is also coincides with dark matter, which is a compound that they find in space and can be used to power things, or we could reference to Neil deGrasse Tyson. He will talk more about dark matter, but basically, just to say this, just imagine there are other metals and other chemical compounds on other planets that we don't even freaking know about.
Like the dude said to me, that the periodic table did not cover every single fucking element. That there's an extra 360 or whatever he said that
So what you're
elements that exist.
So what you're saying is, of course, making a Marvel reference, that vibranium could exist.
100% this
Adamantium.
vibranium exists.
Yeah.
Adamantium.
Hell yeah,
Adamantium,
man. You think you could make shit like that up, man? You can make these things up, man.
So
Those are true stories.
What you're saying, now, listen closely. What you're saying is, it's not man-made, but it could be parts of an old alien craft enlarged in large chunks of ice that
No.
eventually
No,
become
no,
rock.
just
No,
like
no,
I think this, just like our planet produces certain metals
Right.
and certain compounds,
Other planets produce-
other planets produce it. We could go, who knows? If we go to another planet, just think about the degrees of sun and the degrees of cold. If you dig into the earth, who knows what kind of metals you could find
So, like
that
Mars.
are stronger than steel.
So,
Right.
Mars. So, of course, for those who are been watching the news the last, 5-10 years, they're saying that there was possible life on Mars.
Right.
So, okay, take this in consideration. So, we were talking about this, what was it, yesterday?
Mosquito
Or you and I
larvae.
were talking about this earlier. There could have been possible life on Mars.
Right.
And the aliens came and wiped them out.
No, I don't listen, man. I'm a firm believer that the things they put on television, which supposedly are not really subliminals, man, they're just putting the truth to your face. Now, I don't know if you watched the movie Prometheus.
Oh yeah,
Prometheus
was an ill-ass movie.
Hello.
Hello.
And Prometheus was they made it a sequel for Alien. You know the Alien movie where the thing that has the mouth that comes out of its mouth. You know, Alien versus Predator.
Yeah.
Right. Prometheus is an actual real. Well, that's just a
It's
theory.
more realistic.
Right. It's a theory, but I believe it's saying something. It's saying that we are an experiment. That the aliens came and then they created the human race.
So you're saying that Alien versus Predator could exist?
Well, I don't know about Predator, but I'm just saying that listen, some of it is fiction. When somebody put a movie that's a true story, obviously they add stuff to it, right?
That's right.
It's just that there's certain parts of the movie, if not most of it, that is true. Now, the point behind Prometheus is that Alien created human beings, right? Which is a belief out there that they're what we call the gods, right?
Okay,
Now,
like Horus. Ra.
No.
So for the
all right.
Egyptians.
I could go into this. I could reference to this. Some people believe that Osiris or Cyrus was an alien. If you look on the hieroglyphics, his skin is always green. Humans don't have green skin.
no, they do not.
So it's not it's not totally
It's not new knowledge.
yeah,
man.
it's not new knowledge. So what, and then who did he marry? He married Isis.
His sister.
And the doggone tribe, okay?
But why do they have a freaking head of animals,
doggone
man?
tribe.
Why do they have head of animals? Why do they have they have human body, where human look-alike bodies.
A humanoid body,
and then animal heads.
See, I believe this.
Doesn't look like an alien to you, bro?
I
Yes.
believe that, you know, there were aliens that visited us, and the Pharaoh was the representative of this planet.
Right.
And they had ambassadors from other planets that came and brought knowledge,
Right.
like Thoth, okay, like Cyrus.
Right.
And we Zeus or these beings were from maybe from another planet.
Okay,
And
okay, let's. So
Now, do you
going
watch
back,
the movie Jupiter Ascending?
I've seen
I
parts
need to
of
see
it.
that. I heard that movie
actually-
was deep.
I
Because
need to
you're
watch
talking
it.
about ambassadors of other worlds.
That's right.
That's what they focused on.
Now-
Now, the Earth supposed to be in that movie. Well, that's the untrue part of it. Is that there's other beings from other planet, Jupiter specifically, that created humans as a food source. That's what the movie's about. That's what the movie is about. As a food source. So this is a power plant, supposedly. This whole thing is a power plant. That our souls, which it acknowledges that our souls is energy, which fuels the aliens on Jupiter. It fuels their being, which allows them to live thousands of years.
Well, there's another person that thinks that too, and his name is Credo Matra, and he is a shaman for the Zulu tribe. He believes that the, let's just say the reptile-like aliens are harvesting our energy. They're harvesting our spiritual energy. And he believes that that's how they were able to live to at least 1,000 years.
Again, Jupiter Ascending. Please watch that. Please watch that.
But not to cut you guys off, we have been talking for quite a
We
while.
have to wrap this up,
So, again, I thank you, Carl
Carl.
and Jay. Thank you.
And Chris, let's not
Yes.
forget the man of the hour, guys. Chris.
Quite
Thank you
literally,
for-
we've been going on for an hour.
Right, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it didn't even feel like that long. Wow.
Knowledge is
So,
power, guys.
again, if you haven't, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. I will bring Carl and Jay back in here for more
Conversations.
conversations.
Well, Chris, thank you for allowing us to speak on your
Thank
channel,
you,
man.
Carl.
I appreciate
Thank you,
it,
Jay.
brother. We will do this again anytime, man. And then, Chris, thank you, man. You're a very knowledgeable person. And I appreciate the input, because I definitely feel blessed because I've added to my collection of knowledge, because of these two guys, Chris and Jay right here. Jay, man, powerful guy right here, man. Powerful guy right here, man. I think he's an alien himself, guys.
Now, just make sure you leave your comments at the bottom because I'm very interested in the questions that you guys have.
Right.
And for the questions, next video that I have with them, I will write down the questions and we will try to answer them to the best of our abilities.
Please, guys, this is obviously, we've been talking about more than one thing. Spirituality, human history, genetics, philosophy. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't discriminate against knowledge, and nobody should. Any type of subject you want us to talk about, you want Chris to mention, please, right away, send him like, and then write a comment about what subject would you like to talk about, and how would you like to correct the things that we speak about. And please, I don't think anybody should take any offense to any type of criticism, So please, right away, guys, right away in the comments, tell Chris, what you want him to talk about. He's definitely questioned me, Carl, and Jay over there. We'll talk some more, guys. It was good talking to you guys. Have a good one.
Enjoy your morning. Bye.